Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Doses of Darling. I am back and I am really excited for the rest of season 2 and episodes that are coming up. Happy New Year. Happy 2024 to all of you. I know we're almost at the end of January, but we can still celebrate. It's still the first month of the year. So, Happy New Year to all of you. For those of you who are new and are watching or listening for the first time, welcome. My name is Darling Membreño, and I'm a licensed professional counselor associate here in the state of Texas. For those of you who are continuing to watch and or listen, thank you so much for your continued support. Thank you for all of the love and all of the good vibes that y'all are sending me. For all of the likes, oh my gosh, I just have to talk about this short that I uploaded of myself dancing and announcing an upcoming mother wound healing workshop. Y'all, I was so touched by the amount of people who watched the video. It was awesome. And also got to see that y'all like me dancing. At least it was something entertaining for y'all to watch. So I just appreciative of the amount of people who watched and responded to the video. And on that note, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you like the content, like the video, hit the little bell if you want to get notifications for when I upload new content. If you're listening on other platforms, give me a follow, rate the podcast, whatever it is, in order to show me some support. I'm really grateful for those of you who do it. All right. So it is a new year. And for some people around the world, that means new resolutions. It means new intentions. It means a new word for the year. It means new goals. For some of y'all, it means nothing, regardless of what it is. If you all are adhering to something new upcoming, that might be starting therapy. It might be continuing therapy. It might be starting your healing journey in a different way, or self-discovery, or working more towards becoming your ideal self, or finding your purpose. So many different things could be happening right now. And I really feel like this podcast is totally a journey. It's following my journey in healing. And I feel so blessed to be able to share that with y'all. You know, season 1 was a lot of my mental journey, and I've shared that now I'm on the journey of like healing everything that's been stored in my body somatically. And so I have explored alternative methods of healing, and that's what this season is going to be about. Y'all know that I'm a spiritual and religious person, and I may call the being that created us God, or, we can call it source, or we can call it the universe, life force, whatever it is. But I feel like all of us are guided, and I'm being guided right now to share about all of these different modalities that I've been learning. We always say we're going to leave things in God's hands, or leave things in the universe's hands and see what happens. But then we just stop there and we sit and twiddle our thumbs and expect things to magically happen. And sometimes things do magically happen, and sometimes it takes our free will and our actions to get us to where we need to get, right? So yes, we pray for God to do whatever God's going to do, but also listen for that guidance. Listen for that guidance of what's the next step? What's the next door that's opening for me, so that I can unlock the new level of the video game of my life that I'm in, right? I'm equipped with so many tools now. I'm in this new level. Yes, there are challenges, but I've faced some of these before. Some of them are new. Let's find how I can become equipped. And so listening to this guidance is really important, right? So that's where these alternative methods of healing have come up for me. And so, you have to ask yourself now, if you are on this journey of self-discovery and whatever other things that I named for the new year, is you start asking yourself different questions of, okay, I want to work on myself. What do I want to work on? Do I want to work on getting therapy? Do I want to work on somatic healing? Do I want to work on becoming my ideal self? Do I want to work on my finances? And so then we start seeking help or Googling for help for some of those things, right? But if you are looking for a therapist, then there are certain questions that you need to ask yourself. So this episode is going to kind of merge one of the questions that I got in last season when I asked y'all for feedback and for questions and topics that y'all wanted to hear being discussed. Somebody asked the question about, when you do find a therapist, like, what is the process? What needs to happen? So this episode kind of answers a few of those questions, plus some questions that I feel are equally important. And then I will also be giving resources in the description for different kinds of alternative methods of healing. I'll share some of the ones that I've gone through, and we'll go from there. So if, you are seeking this, or you're on this journey of healing and self-discovery and finding your ideal self, let's say you are looking for a therapist. The first question that you ask is, so what is your purpose behind seeking therapy? Is it to please somebody else in a relationship you're in, be it parental, be it fraternal, be it friendship, be it romantic? If the answer is anything but yourself, maybe you're not ready to go into therapy just yet. Therapy is, yes, to better relationships, but let's say whatever person you're going into therapy for is no longer in your life, then you might lose the drive to continue going to therapy. So make sure the answer for going to therapy is yourself. The second question that you need to ask yourself is, all right, what am I trying to work on? Right? So this requires a lot of self-awareness and a lot of knowing of, like, am I trying to work on my self-confidence? That means I have low self-esteem. Am I trying to work on self-love? That means I'm lacking in that. Am I trying to work on PTSD or some sort of other complex trauma that I want to work through? Am I trying to work on my anxiety and depression? Am I trying to work on how to be a better parent? Am I trying to work on my romantic relationship? So that is the second question that you have to answer, right? What are you trying to work on? The next question that comes in is, okay, now I know what I'm going to work on. What modality of therapy do I need to seek? And we've already talked in previous episodes in the last season about internal family systems. We talked about EMDR. We talked about different kinds of therapies that people could use. And so we researched, right, what modality works best with what we're trying to work on. So if you're trying to work on self-confidence, then a therapist who is trained in cognitive behavioral therapy or in dialectical behavioral therapy is probably your best bet. If you are trying to work on PTSD or some sort of other trauma, then an EMDR therapist or internal family system therapist would probably be your best bets. And maybe you want to engage with another person who does somatic practices, or find a therapist who does EMDR with somatics or IFS with somatics. Then it helps you narrow down, right? Because there's such a saturation of types of therapists that narrowing down what you want to work on is going to help you find that modality that is going to work best for you. Because every single individual receives different kinds of therapies differently. So, we've discussed that internal family systems is not for everybody. EMDR may also not be for everybody because it can be too taxing or too draining or too exhausting or too much to feel the emotions that come from it, or even the things that are unearthed, right? That I talked about in the episode where I was on the beach, that I did EMDR for a little bit, and then it started in my dreams, things started coming up. And when I was sitting down, I was remembering things that I hadn't processed previously because I was so numb in the moment that I had experienced them. So think about those things and the risks of therapy. I think one of the main things that therapists always say is things might get worse before they get better in therapy, and you have to be super aware that that is a possibility. If you're trying to work on anxiety or depression, IFS, EMDR, person-centered therapy are probably the best modalities. If you're trying to be a better parent, maybe a parenting coach or a therapist who is a parent are probably better bets for you. If you're trying to work on your romantic relationship, then this means you and your partner are going to a therapist who is trained in the Gottman method or an imago therapy to help you all know each other a little bit better and a little bit more deeply and understand one another and the experiences that you've had growing up and what brought you all together, and might guide you to a peaceful separation or a peaceful reunification and like respark of the love that is in your relationship. So, all right. So that's the question of what modality. Now comes the dating therapist. I don't know how else to say it, but you may find 2 or 3 people that are aligned with what you're looking for, what you want to work on, the modality that you're seeking. And so I would say to give this therapist at least 4 sessions. Usually the first 2 sessions are intake. So they're going to be taking a lot of your history, even though some of the paperwork might be filled out beforehand. But let's say it was filled out beforehand, we still have to do some history taking. And the first and second session include rapport building. So we get to know you a little bit better. We feel your vibe. Y'all feel the therapist vibe also, to see if it is an energy that you want to be around and that can be helpful. And then the third and fourth sessions are when you start getting more into like the nitty gritty of the things that you want to work on. But it's only the beginning, right? So even just giving the therapist 4 sessions might not be enough, but you all can gauge based on how you're feeling around the therapist that you're basically interviewing or testing out. It's like a testing period. It is okay to change therapists at any given point in your treatment. You just have to notify us with enough time for your sake. And then, if you don't have the opportunity, that's okay too. But at least on our behalf, right? Like ethically, we have to give y'all like a couple sessions just to process, like, I'm not going to be your therapist anymore. But if it is in the beginning of the therapeutic relationship, it's completely fine to just drop off whenever you feel like it. We won't get our feelings hurt. We understand as therapists that we're not going to mesh with every single one of the clients that comes to our space. You don't owe us anything other than money, maybe sometimes. But other than that, there really isn't any explanation that you owe us. Is things are not working out. Cool. Questions to ask your therapist once you're in. Do they do private pay or do they work with your health insurance? Private pay typically tends to be a little bit more expensive. Insurance covers a little bit more of what your therapy is, but then it'll limit you to what types of modalities that you can get, because insurance companies are really tough to work with when it comes to mental health services. Sometimes they don't cover certain modalities. Sometimes they don't cover certain disorders. It's a big systemic thing with health insurance. Ask also if there's a sliding scale. If money is an issue and your health insurance doesn't cover the therapist that you want for some reason, ask your therapist if they offer a sliding scale. Chances are they do, and you can pay a little bit lower than what the whole fee or the full fee might be. Some of us have some specific amount of slots for sliding scale so we can make therapy accessible to whomever needs it. And if we'd have the opportunity to offer it, then we definitely will. Another question that you might ask is, what is your style of therapy? Do you give homework? Are you a therapist that just expects me to vent the whole time? Do you give me tools to implement? Are we going to role play in the office? We're like, what are we going to do? So that's important for you to ask the therapist, but then also questions to ask yourself. Are you a person who wants to be given homework? Some people don't like that. Some people want to work through things just in session and if you don't put work in outside of therapy, it's not going to take effect as quickly as if you did. But definitely ask yourself if you're willing to put in that work. Do you want to implement, how many tools do you want to implement? Do you want talk therapy? Ask yourself all of these questions also. If there are tools that we provide that are not working, let us know. Again, we won't feel terribly. We are given such a toolbox of so many different resources and things that we can provide depending on what it is your treatment plan goals are, that again, we won't get our feelings hurt if you tell us that a tool that we gave you isn't working. We'll just provide another one, or we'll collaborate and think of something else that does work for you. So speak up and use your voice when things are not working out. Ultimately, you direct your healing. You're the one in control of the sessions. You can bring whatever it is that you want to bring to therapy to discuss to the therapist, or you can have the therapist bring something up from last time. There's always going to be something to talk about. Therapists, for the most part, we are not directive. We provide an objective perspective, and we help guide you to get to certain points of realizations if we feel that you're ready for those realizations. But we, for the most part, cannot tell you what to do. There are a few modalities that are somewhat directive, but for the most part, we just serve as guides and facilitators to help you get to the realizations that you need to get to on your own. We'll reflect and analyze, but if we feel that you're not ready to hear something, even if we've already realized it before you, then that's something that we cannot share until you get to that point, and you will. Which brings us to the next point of be willing to put in the work so that we can see that growth and see that you are ready to hear certain things, right? Things will not change after 2 or 3 sessions of therapy. You might have a grand realization. You might have a tool that's going to help you a lot, but things are not going to change overnight. Therapy is so frustratingly slow. It's so slow. It's as slow as molasses. And especially I'm in my late 30s, mid 30s, and it took me a while to start my healing journey. So once I started healing, I wanted to heal everything super fast. I've shared with y'all what the consequences of that were. So don't put yourself through the same thing. I am still working on that. I actually, embarrassingly so, 3 weeks ago, I took a 10-lesson workshop in 4 hours because I know I need to practice what I'm preaching. But take my example as something not to do. I did have a lot of realizations and it did help me, but I am going back into each lesson and sitting with the emotions and sitting in the emotions that keep coming up from that 10-lesson workshop that I powered through. Because real healing takes actual time. It takes sitting with those emotions and sitting in, and I'm allowing them to happen, whether it's crying, whether it's screaming, whether it's joy, whatever it is, right? Because even happy things can happen from therapy. So just sit with the emotions and Take your time and put in the effort. Be patient with yourself and extend yourself some grace when you backslide, because you will backslide. I think another misconception of therapy is that once you process through traumas or things that you need to heal, that it's never going to happen again, and that you're never going to be triggered again, and that behavior is going to be zeroed out that you're working on. It's not. We are humans. We are human beings after all, and we are so imperfect. And once we get to that acceptance, then our healing journey is going to be that much more easy, and it'll be easier for us to extend that grace to ourselves when we do backslide. When we do end up going back to that toxic relationship that is draining us of our life force. When we end up falling back into a deep depression, when we have suicidal ideation, when we go back and relapse into alcoholism or drug addiction, or go back to my eating disorder, whatever it is. We are human, and the healing journey is not going to be like a linear climb up. I said that in like the first episode. We're going to backslide, and that is okay. Extend yourself some grace when you do backslide, and know that your continued effort and your continued putting in the work is going to get you to your ideal place very soon. Just have faith and trust in the process. Have faith and trust in the process, and everything will work itself out. You're acting on your behalf, and the universe is doing what it needs to do, right? But with your action, you're not just sitting there twiddling your thumbs waiting for things to happen magically on their own, because they're not gonna. Again, we can say, let's just leave things in God's hands and see what happens. Okay, but listen for the guidance, because then you'll miss your opportunity over and over and over, thinking that something's just gonna land in your lap, right? Okay, so, I feel like I talked enough about there might be some other things that I need to address, but as far as finding a therapist, these are the questions and things that I feel are important that came to mind. Now, if you are seeking alternative forms of healing, I have implemented alternative forms of healing in the last year or so. I've done sound baths, I've done plant medicine, I've done emotional freedom techniques, I've participated in Kundalini activation processes, I've participated in breathwork workshops, I've participated in family constellation workshops. I recently went to a heart womb femininity workshop. Like, there are so many things once you become self-aware and know where you need to heal, that so many different workshops and places and opportunities for you to continue that growth and that self-awareness and that self-learning, that once you're connected with one, all of these others just pop up on their own. And so if y'all are interested in any of the ones that I mentioned, I'll link the either Google research or actual sites to people's websites or platforms that you can do a little bit more research about what those things are. The next few episodes that I will be recording will be on some of these healing practices that I have found that are alternative sources for me, that I've done in conjunction with therapy. So just because I'm not working on the mind thing anymore, doesn't mean that I stopped going to therapy. I still very much have a therapist. I actually just got a new therapist, and I'm doing these alternative methods of healing alongside, because it's opening so many other things and giving me more tools to be able to implement them into my everyday life. helping me see the world and people around me in a different way. My own family members and friends. And it is beautiful. It is so beautiful once you get to this point. At least I feel this way now, right? It doesn't mean that I don't have sad days. It doesn't mean I don't backslide into behaviors that I'm not very proud of. But again, these opportunities, the guidances that I'm receiving every single time I attend one of these different workshops, and the ideas that pop up, and more healing and more ideas that I get to be like, okay, I can talk to this person and heal this now, and I can dismiss this other person, and I can just not dismiss, but be more accepting, and then set boundaries that are a little bit more clear, whether it's like I need to keep you at a distance, and you'll become more discerning is basically the point that I'm trying to make. And the universe will help those who help themselves. We just keep doing the work and continue unlocking those levels of our video game to get to whatever that end purpose is for us. And again, using my experience as a passion and a service to all of you, just serving as a testimony for the amazing things that can happen if you really embark on this healing journey, and put in all of the effort that's necessary. It really transforms your surroundings, and it reaches people in a way where you become inspirational, So, I think this is a good stopping point for this episode. Again, I will link different kinds of alternative practices and people's platforms and stuff, so you could do some research and start those questions of like, what is it that I want to work on this year? We are striving to become better humans, and so let's make this a better place by individually becoming amazing people and continuing to be amazing people if we already are on that track. So thank you all for joining me. I'm going to remind you all to subscribe to the channel, like the video. If you're watching, hit the little bell for notifications. And if you're listening on other platforms, follow me, rate the podcast. Thank you all so much for joining me. Thank you for your support. I'm excited for the next few episodes, and I'm excited to be back. Thank you for joining me. I will see you all. Wait, I am sending you guys off with lots of light, with lots of love, and so many blessings. I will see you all on the next episode of Doses of Darling.